There's always seats down front. You can ignore the reserve sign. They're reserved for you. One of the cabinet members said, you can't do what you do during cabinet meetings. Everybody sits in the back of the Ecolab, then I just go to the back of the room and start the meeting. So I fooled them, and now, of course, they try to sit towards the front, but we know how that will work. Well, good morning, everyone. It is so wonderful to see so many people here on the first day of our new academic year. Welcome to Convocation and the opening of the 2016-2017 academic year. It's wonderful to look out across this auditorium and see so many familiar people and faces that I know. That's a great advantage, I think, for all of us. But for those whom I have not yet met, I am Ginny Arthur, and I am pleased to tell you that I am in my 7th week as president of this amazing university. Thank you. For those of us who live in the world of education, this time of year is our academic New Year's, a time when we reflect on what we've accomplished together in the past and setting our intentions for the year ahead. It's a time for reconnecting with longtime colleagues that we haven't seen for a few months and for welcoming new members into our university community. Each year, I relish the renewed energy and excitement this season brings. Among us today, we have many new members of our faculty and staff who are also bringing energy and ideas that are going to be valuable ingredients for fueling our organizational creativity. At each year's convocation, we enjoy welcoming all those who have joined our community since this time last year. On the screen, we will see our new colleagues' names listed by college or division. I ask each group to stand briefly as we go through the slides and to be welcomed. Then, I ask the rest of you to please seek them out during lunch or sometime on campus over the next few weeks to make their acquaintance and personally welcome them to our community. So, College of Community Studies and Public Affairs, any new members of that college, don't be shy. We'll root you out anyway. The College of Individualized Studies. They're individualized, so we just have one. College of Liberal Arts. Our College of Nursing and Health Sciences. The Center for Online Learning. They're busy getting your courses set up. The College of Management. College of Sciences. Student Affairs Enrollment Management. The Executive Strategic Council, our vice presidential level. Facilities management. Since Thomas is here, no one need worry about a parking ticket. Financial management. Human resources. Busy processing your paychecks. The Institute for Community Engagement and Scholarship. Library and Information Services. Typical librarians are very shy. And Office of the President. Where's Shelley? Be especially nice to Shelley. Student Affairs, the Student Success Area. School of Urban Education. All right, so one more round of applause for all of our new thank you, and welcome to everyone. Well, I said I'm 7 weeks in, but I admit I'm still getting used to this idea of being a university president. It's a tremendous and humbling honor, really, to serve as president of this great institution. When I pause to think of the thousands of students who have come through our classrooms, the way their lives and this community has changed as a result, I'm reminded of the power that we hold to bring positive and lasting change through the students we serve. As well as feeling honored and humbled, I'm also very excited. It's exciting to look to the possibilities that lie ahead for Metropolitan State, building on our unique legacy of student-focused instruction, of serving those who have not been well served or who have been underserved by traditional higher education, of the flexibility and innovation that are hallmarks of our education, and arguably, most importantly, of striving for inclusion and equity for all students, faculty, and staff, both within our organization and throughout our communities. Many of you are familiar with the history of our university, and I hope that newer members will take the opportunity to learn more about our story. But I've also heard that some of you are interested in learning more about your new president and my own journey to my dream job. So let me tell you a bit about myself and why I'm so thrilled to be serving this particular university as its president. Not unlike a number of our students, my first encounter with formal education did not go well. I grew up in a small town with a burgeoning population of baby boom students. I think there were almost 50 students in my elementary classrooms. And I was the youngest of 6 children, the next oldest in the family being 9 years my senior. Those are my only explanations for how I ever got away with skipping kindergarten for several months. I guess my teacher and my parents were just too tired to notice. At 4 and a half, I didn't like having my time regulated and regimented, so I started just stopping by and hanging out in a neighbor's abandoned carriage house. This worked really well for me. I loved it, until I made a mistake and came home too early one day. And I don't care what they say about the unreliability of memory. I still clearly see my mother's face and hear her voice. She was not happy. Well, guess what? I was transferred to a parochial school under the watchful eyes of the nuns. I wasn't allowed to go home for lunch like my neighborhood friends who also walked to school. And as I recall, I wasn't even allowed to have outside recess without a guard. You might say it was my introduction to academic probation, although it actually felt a lot more like jail time. Despite my struggles against school as a child, I was absolutely determined to go to college. I'm not sure why. I think my mother talked about it a lot. She probably thought they would lock me up there. Some of you may have already heard the story of my first trip to college, because I think I told it when I was interviewing for this position. But my parents had to borrow a car to get me there. And not having any higher education experience themselves, they just quickly unpacked my things, helped me settle my dorm room as fast as they could, said goodbye, and were on the road home. They said, you know, we've got to return the car, and we want to get home before dark. But in retrospect, I realized they probably felt as uncomfortable and out of place as I did. For a long time, I felt like I didn't fit. And while I'd been dreaming about college for years, maybe this wasn't the route for me. Somehow, I managed to persist without ever once seeing my undergraduate advisor. I would take my advising form to the department secretary every semester, and she'd tell me to come back the next day to pick up the signed registration card. I thought that was how it was supposed to work. I didn't know you were supposed to talk to the person. I floundered for a while, but finally was able to figure out how to complete my degree after changing my major 4 times. I honed my skill at reading catalogs and schedules, making charts and checklists of requirements, and uncovering for myself how to navigate the system. Because of my own experience, I think I understood right away when I came to Metro State the frustration of the students who struggle to find their way here from their community college home, or who have stopped out of higher ed for a while and want to find a way back in. Joe's gonna leave right when I'm mentioning his name. How'd you know that was gonna happen, Joe? But I want to acknowledge the work that Joe Rockers, Ashley Weatherspoon, our faculty, our faculty and advisors, all that you've done over the past few years to create our transfer guides and to reach out to our community college partners is saving many students from giving up and dropping out. Now, perhaps the best thing that happened to me in college were my learning experiences outside the classroom. Okay? Kind of another Metro State theme. That included a work-study job I had transcribing class discussions for a graduate seminar on race and women's issues. It was a new experimental course in the days when I was in college, taught by an African-American professor, a rarity in higher education in those days. It was the best class that I didn't register for. The experience opened my eyes to the depth of social justice issues. Similarly, I had an unpaid internship in the new Office of Consumer Protection opened by the city of Syracuse. It was only the second unit of its kind in the nation. This was a significant and lasting learning experience for me. In addition to the knowledge of consumer law and advocacy and negotiation skills I acquired, my boss, Rosemary Pooler, who later served as a judge for the New York State Supreme Court and is still a sitting judge on the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, taught me to be courageous and showed me the importance of helping those without much social power to acquire and exercise it. Now, if I had an advisor or someone else I could have talked to in college, my life might have taken a different turn. But I came to college determined to be a lawyer. And a career in higher education was the furthest thing from my mind. But after trying on several different kinds of law practice and not feeling satisfied, I guess I didn't like lawyers, I went to see a career counselor. And after my second appointment, she said, "I think you're an educator." Now, my high school guidance counselor had said to me, "You're a smart girl, so you could be a teacher or a nurse." So of course, I absolutely rejected both of those options. So it was very upsetting to hear that my career counselor thought I ought to be an educator. But she's the one who opened my eyes by saying, "Well, you know, you went to college, and those people are teachers too. So maybe you could think about that." Well, who knew? Shortly after that, I'm goal-directed, so I said I'm going to find an opportunity to try this out, either prove the career counselor wrong or find some satisfaction in my life. I had a chance to take a one-year teaching position at a private liberal arts college here in Minnesota. I stayed 24 years. I became a full professor, and I served 7 years as department chair. During my time as a faculty member, I was the champion on our campus of internships, study abroad, and classroom simulations, because I understood and believed in the power of experiential learning. I even remember attending a CALE conference in the early 1990s. I'm sure I probably met some Metro State faculty there. Of course, as most of you know, I've had the privilege of serving as your provost for the past 4 years. Now, I'm ready to step into the role as your president. Knowing you and being deeply familiar with so many of our university's strengths, challenges, and opportunities, I now have the chance to build on the momentum we have gathered as a university community, especially over the past 2 years. During that time, we have been rebuilding our commitment and our optimism. Despite the setbacks we overcame, or perhaps because of them, our completed building projects have created a shared sense of pride in our St. Paul campus. And I think we're showing some of our photos from our opening ceremonies for our Student Center and Science Education Center. Through countless tours for legislators, trustees, community members, foreign dignitaries, and potential donors, we've brought many people to our campus who didn't realize this space even existed. They've been surprised and delighted to see our campus and its integration with the community, and nearly to a person, remark on our beautiful setting. Our facilities team, under the new leadership of Chris Moss, deserves our thanks and appreciation. They maintain a beautiful setting for us. Now, I know not everyone in this room was excited about the parking ramp construction, but having that parking ramp has enabled us to assume a more prominent place in our community. Over the last year, we have hosted several Minnesota State conferences and gatherings, including the onboarding meeting for new system presidents, the Transfer Pathways Team Kickoff, which brought more than 75 people from across the system to our campus. The system-wide advancement meeting and kickoff for the system-wide scholarship campaign, attended by development professionals, college and university presidents, and business leaders. The presidential retirement celebration, attended by members of the Board of Trustees, and visits this spring by educational leaders both from Spain and Mexico. I think the Chancellor was here at least 8 times since last March. I'm not sure if he was here 8 times since he was Chancellor before that. We have also held numerous academic forums and community-oriented events, our annual scholarship breakfast, the spring outstanding student reception, and our first ever doctoral graduation ceremony on this campus. I don't know about you, but I tend to forget that the families of our students often don't see our campus because we hold our graduation off-site. The families were really delighted to visit the space where their family members had gathered with classmates to study, gone to class, and met with advisors. We ran several spontaneous tours of the whole campus at each of those events. We also hosted the first St. Paul residency for the Twin Cities International Film Festival. It was amazing. Even people from Minneapolis, who don't like to cross the river, came to experience a movie in our upgraded auditorium. Just since June, we have hosted events such as the Capital Pathways Internship Celebration, which was attended by Governor Dayton, the Urban Scholars Program, an internship program for the city of Minneapolis. I guess they found out it wasn't so bad on this side. Mayor Coleman's 2017 budget address, and just last week, a conference for current and aspiring teachers of color and American Indian teachers, which had representatives from across the region and from national organizations. Each of these events has brought people to this campus who have never been here before. How often are you asked, what's that building up on the hill? Everyone who's been exposed to this location is surprised by its beauty, but more importantly, they are eager to learn more about what we do, the students we serve, and the role we play in making the Twin Cities a vibrant and prosperous area, economically, socially, and intellectually. Also, as part of our building momentum, we have been focused on developing a sound budgeting and planning process. Last winter, we took a serious look at the state of our budgeting process. We discovered, I'm giving you the straight story now, that we not only had a budget process issue, it was slow, untimely, confusing, cumbersome, inhibiting good planning and stewardship of resources. If that's not enough, we had a culture problem as well. Our culture was seen to be defensive, antagonistic, opaque, and mistrustful. The good news was that the instruments provided by the external evaluator also measured the culture we aspire to work in. And this showed that many, a great majority of us, wanted a culture that focuses on collaboration, problem solving, generosity of spirit, and trust. If you can attend the all-university session at 2:30 this afternoon, you will hear more details about these new processes. Well, it will take some time to correct and repair the situation that developed over the course of several years. We've mapped out a method for budget development for FY18 and beyond that we expect will help us to achieve that collaborative process, provide candid and complete information in a timely way, and use the budget to support and advance the university's strategic priorities. We will need all of that because the current budget situation requires that we collectively examine and debate how we can best fulfill our mission and achieve our vision within the confines of our current resources. In an effective organization, budgeting and planning need to be tied together. Our strategic planning committee has worked to develop university-wide strategic priorities based on input gathered from across the university, as well as a process for integrating unit-level strategic plans into a focused set of prioritized actions that will position the university well to achieve its mission and vision. Building on the appreciative inquiry work of 2 years ago that engaged more than 350 people across all locations of our university, the committee developed prioritized recommendations for the interim president's action, a strategic positioning statement, the so-called elevator speech, if you will, which gives the succinct overview of who we are and entices listeners to learn more about our work, our contributions, and our accomplishments. And you will see that displayed behind me. They also developed 8 strategic priorities to guide our planning and prioritization. And as you will see, student success is at the center of those. Organizational culture and the aspects of that which emphasize innovation, quality and continuous improvement, along with fiscal sustainability and stewardship, and our unwavering commitment to community engagement and inclusion and equity are all seen as being critical to achieving that goal of student success. Again, if you can come this afternoon, you'll hear more details about this work from our provost, and you'll be hearing more in the weeks and months ahead. During the past 2 years, we've also brought academic and student affairs into a single division and created academic units that align to our mission and vision accomplishment. As an engaged public urban university, we've created a College of Community Studies and Public Affairs, which aligns and concentrates our academic strength in community change disciplines. To elevate the work of the humanities, history, social sciences, language and literature, and ethnic and religious studies, and to make proudly visible our belief in the importance of a liberal education, we created the College of Liberal Arts. Talk about being countercultural. This is going in the opposite direction from much of higher ed, but that's exactly who we are and who we want to be. Our new College of Sciences capitalizes on our opportunity to develop outstanding programs in the natural sciences, mathematics, and computer science, positioning us to be leaders in developing the next generation of diverse STEM professionals. And to focus and emphasize our innovative programs in nursing, dental hygiene, and other health sciences, we've established a College of Nursing and Health Sciences to meet the growing and urgent demand for healthcare professionals to assist a diversifying and aging population, especially in community settings. A few of you noticed that I was a little out of breath running to get into Convocation, and that's because I had a 9 a.m. meeting at the headquarters of Health Partners with the CEO and her top leadership team and our colleagues from the 10 community colleges in the metro area to talk about just that issue and how we can be a valued partner in helping them to achieve their goals. We've recognized the growth of disciplines within the College of Management through the creation of a departmental structure that will allow more focused planning and expansion. The college is now organized into the departments of accounting, economics, management, management information systems, and this is all one, marketing, business law, international business, and operations supply chain, or call it Nancy's group for short. Nancy Nentel is the chair. To recommit ourselves to our university's legacy of creativity and innovation in higher education, we are creating a Center for Educational Innovation under the direction of Carl Polding, the Dean of the College of Individualized Studies, recognizing that CIS has been the university's nursery for unique educational approaches that have, in many cases, had profound effects on U.S. higher educational practice. We are also strengthening the identity of the School of Urban Education, which under the leadership of its first permanent dean, Dr. Renee Antrup-Gonzalez, has been building important partnerships with our neighboring two-year institutions, school districts, and the community. All of this work lays the foundation for Metropolitan State's next stage of development in achievement. In a very interesting twist of fate, as the search for Metropolitan State's next president was winding down last March, one of the library faculty discovered the founding documents for our institution in a box that had been sitting at the Minnesota Historical Society for decades. The file, labeled David Sweet's Miscellaneous Papers, contained then-Chancellor Metow's charge to the soon-to-be-appointed President, David Sweet, and Sweet's response. When I had a chance to see the documents, to see the vision of Metro State's founders back in 1971, I realized then that the core values and commitments of 1971 are still relevant and critical in 2016 and beyond. For example, Chancellor Metow wrote, "Metropolitan State should be innovative and non-traditional." This is still an imperative for us. Just as in the 1960s and 70s, we are experiencing a revolution in the economic, political, social, technological, and global spheres. Innovative, flexible, and non-traditional approaches to higher education are needed to assure access and affordability if we're to maintain our commitment to democracy, build an equitable and just society, and minimize the economic disparity that's corrosive to shared prosperity. Chancellor Metow also said, Metropolitan State should serve non-traditional learners and meet the unmet needs of the educational needs of the Twin Cities. Well, this is still the heart of our mission. It includes the working adults that Metow and Sweet contemplated, but it's also students from communities of color and new Americans, students who are place-bound, and those helping to support their families of origin. They may be students who have some college, but slipped away from higher education with no degree. They're ready to try again. We began democratizing learning long before the internet and online learning became ubiquitous and began to breach the walls of the ivory tower. This university remains the hope of many who are not well served by traditionally organized institutions of higher learning. And just last June, the Board of Trustees of Minnesota State adopted a Metro Baccalaureate plan designed to increase baccalaureate degree completion, which recognizes Metropolitan State's unique and central role in fulfilling those goals. As Mitau further stated, Metropolitan State should be a college with the community as its campus. Well, how do we do that? We hire community and resident faculty with expert, experiential knowledge. We facilitate community-based learning within relationships based on mutual respect and benefit for our student, the community, and the university. We have nearly 30 instructional sites across the Twin Cities, including on two-year college campuses, and we have a robust program of online learning. President Sweet didn't foresee any of those things. Still, he noted upon his appointment that Metropolitan State is not an enclave within the cities for those who want to retreat from the urban environment. Instead, we were and remain fully engaged in being part of the solutions our urban communities are seeking. That's not to say that Metropolitan State hasn't evolved since 1971. We were originally founded as the University Without Walls, and lately, you may have noticed, we've built a lot of walls. Very beautiful and inviting walls. That's because we're not a university founded to be one thing forever. We were founded with a spirit of flexibility and innovation to meet the changing needs of our students and community. We wouldn't be able to serve more than 11,500 students, house our 178 resident faculty, our many advisors and student development staff, provide a technologically and scientifically competitive education, or gather for events that enrich our campus and greater community without these walls. We need to change that tagline and narrative and strive to be what I think we really are, the university without barriers, enabling undergraduate and graduate degree attainment and helping non-traditional and post-traditional students realize their potential. Metropolitan State is going to continue to evolve because that's what's needed. We need to serve the changing and growing population of the Twin Cities who want and need a flexible, innovative, accessible, affordable education grounded in the liberal arts and preparing them for life, work, leadership, and citizenship. When I look ahead, I see a thriving university that's vital to the civic, economic, and cultural health of the Twin Cities region. People throughout the area, whether potential students, business leaders, civic organizations, government entities, or philanthropists, will see Metropolitan State as a destination for obtaining bachelor's and graduate degrees, for continuing professional development, for recruiting well-prepared employees, for finding expertise on regional issues, for partnership and engagement, for making a positive difference in people's lives, and for fostering and sustaining a socially just community. As a result, we will achieve the ambitious goals set for us in the Minnesota State Board's Metro Baccalaureate Plan, which envisions a doubling of our graduates in the next 8 years. I'm enthusiastic about our new collaborations and cooperation that this growth will entail. For those of you who are relatively new to the university, it may not sound like great news to say that we have strong and still growing partnerships with our region's community colleges. But it hasn't always been so, and I'm proud to say that those are now prospering. These relationships are critical to our future, and we will continue to work every day to deepen those partnerships, to earn the cooperation and the enrollments that grow out of them. In addition, we all need to understand that the Minnesota state system sees Metropolitan State as being indispensable to its strategic focus on elevating the number of bachelor's degrees conferred across the Twin Cities metro region. It's hard to overstate the importance of this alignment. It's not that we have taken on a new project that the system has come up with, it's just the opposite. The board has concluded that the goal of providing adult-friendly, flexible, affordable bachelor's degree pathways to large numbers of metropolitan residents is one of their critical few strategic priorities. So now, Minnesota State is on board with the mission we've been pursuing for 45 years. While we are thinking about our partners at the community colleges and at the systems office, we should all be aware that the Board of Trustees recently acted to change our system's nickname from MinSCU, which no one knew what it meant, to Minnesota State. This is part of a larger effort to enhance the public's understanding that we are a system of unique public colleges and universities working together to meet students' higher education needs. Research shows that the MinSCU label, after 20 years, still doesn't convey what we are all about. And since 97% of our students are transfer students, helping them understand the close connections between the programs at their colleges and those at Metropolitan State is important for them and for us. This new name will not affect our efforts to market our programs and to communicate our own brand messages to members of the public, but it will help prospective students better understand the pathways that lead to Metropolitan State. Because Metropolitan State is not a conventional university, and these are turbulent times in our country, the role of president is both sobering and exciting. I'm sobered daily by the national trends of declining public support for public higher education, the downward pressure on tuition revenues, and cyclical enrollment drops which threaten the long-term sustainability of our system and potentially our university. Locally, I am determined to bring expenditures and revenues into positive alignment so that we can grow sustainably and maintain academic quality. And I'm optimistic because we have the expertise and partnerships with community colleges that we need to improve our enrollment outcomes each year. By being the partner of choice, we can help students persist through their associate's degree programs and come to us to complete their bachelor's degree. We then have the faculty expertise to develop and grow appealing graduate programs, which will also enable those students to continue their education. I'm also sobered by the widespread instances, nationally and in our own communities, of systemic racial injustice, violence, and a poisoned public discourse. These challenges affect our communities, our students' communities, and our students personally. They are our challenges too. And as stewards of place, we have a responsibility to foster the health of our community. At the same time, I am energized by the knowledge that as a comprehensive public urban university with an unwavering commitment to community engagement, we provide skills, resources, and opportunities for examining difficult issues and to engage students and our community in the discovery of new knowledge and constructive, just responses. These societal conflicts are likely to escalate during this election season. With leadership from our Institute for Community Engagement and Scholarship through the Metro State Votes 2016 campaign, we can engage our students in the work of sustaining democracy, connecting elections with life and academics, envisioning what a future community and nation could be, and embracing the tough but essential work of democracy to achieve it. While we do this work, we also intend to continue engaging in our own internal process of dialogue and deliberation by revitalizing and strengthening the work of our National Coalition Building Institute team, improving supervision and communication skills, and by providing opportunities for candid and productive discussions regarding our internal issues, with a commitment to work toward a healthy campus climate, build an inclusive community, and dismantle racism. I am truly excited about our future. I have mentioned the inspiration and excitement that's fueled by new colleagues, new facilities, new academic programs, pathways, and partnerships, and new colleges. But I'm also energized by new conversations. I appreciate the chances I have had already to hear from individuals and small groups of employees and students in listening sessions and meet and greet events. I still have several more to go, so don't worry if I haven't been to your unit. I know Shelley is working hard to get those on the calendar. To date, I have heard from you about a number of issues and concerns, and your frankness means a great deal to me. I acknowledge the feelings of many segments of the campus community, but I want to meet those challenges with optimism. In my view, listening carefully is not a transition activity. I intend to listen to you, my campus colleagues, throughout my presidency in a number of ways. For example, as soon as there's coffee in the Student Center, which is going to happen any day, I intend to spend time there regularly with my coffee cup, but with no agenda, to talk with student, staff, and faculty. You'll know when I'm going to be there, so I hope you will show up and we can chat. I also don't intend to be the kind of president who seems to be inducted into the Witness Protection Program, hidden from campus, out of reach. I plan to get out of my office on this campus and all of our locations and stop by your spaces to say hello and to spend time with you. Please feel welcome to chat with me, because I need to hear your ideas and concerns. I will also be scheduling open office hours so you can visit me in a more private setting if you prefer. I will be developing some forms of regular communication from me to the entire university community. We have an outstanding team of interns working on social media. I am so impressed with the work that happens in our graduate program in technical communication, because these students are whizzes. They give me plans with action steps. They're working on the social media plan, and they have a plan of tweeting and blogging for me. I hope I can meet their expectations and yours. I wish I knew my Twitter handle right now. Oh, there it is. Thank you. You can join the 12 people, 4 of whom are related to me and are very critical of my tweeting at any time. And I promise, if I know you're following, I'll get better. Please don't hesitate to give me other ideas about how to effectively communicate with you. I understand the importance of regular, transparent, and varied communication, but I also know myself, and I can easily get absorbed in the tasks and activities that cross my desk every day, so sometimes I need a nudge. So while we're carrying out the exciting and transformative work of teaching, advising, and serving students every day, in person and online, we have important work to do to advance on our pathway to sustainable growth and maintaining academic quality. There are some very important upcoming steps along the way. We are actively preparing for a major site visit by our regional accrediting body, the Higher Learning Commission, at the end of February. This is important work because the renewal of our regional accreditation is based on it, and also because it's foundational to our work of continuously improving everything we do to educate and support students. This is part of being intentional, focused, and data-informed in the service of our students. In a few weeks, we will pivot to making an 8 to 9 month transparent public budget development process our standard operating procedure. You can, again, learn more about that today at this afternoon's forum. This is the earliest we've ever undertaken our budget work for an upcoming year. So I am very optimistic that we will not see the kind of delays that we have in the past. Well, we have had to carefully consider filling vacant positions this summer as we work to deliver a balanced FY17 budget. We do have important positions to fill across the university. Some of these are key leadership roles. I'm applying the same review and scrutiny of the work to be done in these executive team positions as we are doing to all vacant positions. Nevertheless, there are 3 critical positions. We need to fill the lead position in advancement with an experienced, energetic, and skillful chief advancement officer who can provide strategic direction and support to our crack advancement team, and who will ensure that I connect with the right people to tell the compelling story of Metropolitan State and the students it serves. All, of course, with the hope that they will give us some money. I plan to begin that search within the next few weeks. We will hire a permanent executive vice president and provost to begin July 1, 2017. Dr. Borman-Young has been doing a marvelous job, but she was clear and emphatic when she agreed to take on the interim role this year. She's willing to serve the university as provost for 1 year. I expect to form the search committee in September and then launch the national search. Financial stewardship and sustainability is one of our strategic priorities. We need permanent leadership to maintain a timely, comprehensible, and strategic budget process. Thus, I plan to begin the search for a permanent chief financial officer in early 2017. A strong, capable, and effective executive team is critical to our university efforts. A strong team supports you in doing your best work in fostering student success. Metropolitan State's legacy of opening doors to opportunity through student-centered instruction, flexible delivery, innovation, and inclusion is a Minnesota treasure. For too long, it's been a hidden treasure. As I think about our future, I'm excited by the prospect of placing the treasure on open display and offering that legacy of access and opportunity to many more residents of this region. Part of that legacy is high-quality, high-impact academic advising. Earlier, I mentioned my own perfect record of having never met with my college advisor and wondering how things might have gone differently if I had. Many of our students have told me about their life-changing experiences they've had thanks to our faculty and advisors. I'm proud that Metropolitan State celebrates the value of academic advising and the work of those who provide it through an annual advising award, as well as through a Lifetime Achievement Award. Last February, we lost one of the 5 recipients of that Lifetime Achievement Award. Yes, that's 5 recipients in 18 years. Donna Blacker was known as a superb student-centered advisor. As noted when she received the Carol C. Ryan Excellence in Advising Award, She understood every student and his/her unique situation, and students blossomed under her tutelage and validation. She was known in various quarters as the advisor to advisors, or for short, Yoda. Based on a recommendation from the Advising Council, and with the assent of our MUSAF and IFO colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to announce today that the Lifetime Achievement Award in Advising will, from this date forward, be known as the Donna Blacker Lifetime Achievement for Excellence in Advising. Earlier this year, I attended a conference where Fareed Zakaria was speaking, and he said, the trick to getting people's attention is to say, in conclusion. You can go for 20 more minutes after that. No, I don't intend to. But in conclusion, wake up the person next to you. Thinking about our future also makes me realize that in 5 years, it will be Metro State's 50th anniversary. This will be an occasion to celebrate and a platform for telling our singular story. In 2021-22, that story will have progressed from where it is today. Our collective hopes and aspirations for the university will continue to unfold this year through our academic and university strategic planning. Our attention to internal culture, improved processes, better organization of our work, open and honest communications, a straightforward budget process, and data-informed decision-making will help us to achieve those aspirations. I am energized by the opportunity of helping strengthen and expand our platform for providing an extraordinary learning experience for all those in our region who seek to invest in their future. I am truly humbled by the privilege as serving as your president in carrying out this work, and I look forward to sharing with you in the day-to-day challenges and successes, standing side by side to face the difficulties, celebrate the accomplishments, and realize the vision we share for this great university. Thank you. Let's eat. Oh, everyone's quieting down. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for those of you who are back this afternoon to hear more about where things stand at the university. I'm just here to get things kicked off. You know, one of the things I do want to say, though, before we get started is the power of being able to look at whatever our issues are with openness and knowing that you're getting the full story, the story that we know, that those of us who've been wrestling with some of these issues, and that the power comes from the fact that then as a community, we can figure out how we can best address these things. So I hope that will help to set the tone. We're going to start off, our provost is going to talk about academic reorganization, strategic planning, academic planning, where those things are going this year. Then our new Chief Information Officer, Steve Reed, is going to talk a little bit about the web project and what he's discovered and what he sees as sort of the prognosis as we move forward. And then we save the best for last, always, and we'll have Bruce Beiser, our Chief Financial Officer, to tell to us about the budget so we can get an understanding of, where things stand now and how we're going to move forward more productively in the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to Carol.
Hello, everyone. This is sort of my first official presentation as a provost. I'm hoping I don't. All right. Well, welcome to the beginning of fall term. For those of you whom I have not met, my name is Carol Borman-Young, and I am the interim provost for the next year less 7 weeks, I guess. All right, my presentation will sort of be an overview of the academic organization as it sits right now and strategic planning. Then we'll do, as Ginny said, we'll do IT, then finance. So, all right. Double-handed. This is an overview of the academic, and even though I have the heading of reorganization, it's really our organization. So I'm going to split the organization up into academic affairs and student affairs. So for academic affairs, I'll start out, here are the 8 areas within the academic affairs. They're College of Community Studies and Public Affairs, College of Liberal Arts, College of Individualized Studies, College of Management, College of Nursing and Health Sciences, College of Sciences, which I made the mistake last week of just saying science, and it is not just the College of Science, it's the College of Sciences. All right, School of Urban Ed and the library area. If you'll note that on this list, within this list, are 3 interim, are deans with interim positions, and a couple of them are with our new colleges. And actually all 3 of them are sort of new colleges. If you'll take a note on the College of Science, we have Dean Tom Nelson, and I'm sad to say that Tom will not serve as dean here into the fall term, and I am in the process of finding an acting dean for the College of Science. Tom let us know last week that due to health reasons he would not be returning. All right. You heard Ginny talk about each of these colleges during her address this morning. So really what I want to do is give you an overview of the departments that fall within each of these colleges. All right. So this is the College of Community Studies and Public Affairs, headed by Frank Schweigert and Shonda Kraft. The areas or the departments within there are Human Services, the Masters of Advocacy and Political Leadership, the MP&A program for public and nonprofit, Psychology, School of Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice, and also the Social Work area, and all the advisors that support those areas. This is a brand new college as well, newly formed. So if Frank is in here, Frank is our inaugural dean for that area. All right, the College of Liberal Studies is headed by Craig Hansen. This college was previously housed in the College of Arts and Sciences, but the following departments broke off and now became the College of Liberal Arts, and that includes Ethnic and Religious Studies, History, Literature and Language Studies, Philosophy, the School of Communication and Writing Arts, Social Sciences, and again, all the advisors that support that area. And Gender Studies. Who said that? Tammy. I have to go look at the org chart. Not look at it, I have to go redo the org chart. Where's Bruce? That's your job, Bruce. Bruce is going to take care of that because I looked at the org chart and I copied off of there. So now I will make sure. Thank you. All right. The next one is the College of Individualized Studies, and that is headed by Dean Carl Polding. They have are the largest majors and central to the origin of Metro State. And They also have the advisors that support that program. Also, under the direction of Carl Polding, but separate from the College of Individualized Study, but Carl will be the director of the newly formed Center of Educational Innovation. And the departments or areas under this center include the Center for Online Learning, Faculty Development, the Institute for Professional Development, and Advanced IT. All right. Here comes the College of Management. I cannot tell you what good things come out of there. Oh, that's only a little self-serving. Oh, there's Kat back there, liking that a lot. All right. Well, the College of Management went from 10 curriculum areas to 5 departments. And so we were looking for some efficiency and to group us into cohesive units. And those units are the accounting area, econ and finance, management, entrepreneurship, and human resources. As Ginny said, the longest named college in the world. Oh, maybe not just here. It's marketing, B-Law, international business and operations supply chain. Ginny said this morning it was Nancy's group. I just say it's Daisy's group. And that's an inside joke because we call Nancy Nentel Daisy. All right. And the last one is management information systems and our advisors that support us. Okay. The College of Nursing and Health Sciences has a dental hygiene program and the nursing area, and a very innovative program by the name of MAIN, which stands for the Minnesota Alliance for Nursing Education. And that is a collaborative program with many of the community colleges, both in the metro area and also a few outside, in terms of ones that I remember, like Riverland and Ridgewater. So, okay. The next college is the College of Sciences. Again, I am looking for an acting dean. I thought I would have an announcement today, but I ran into a snag. Imagine, bureaucracy has become a bit of a roadblock. But my goal now is Thursday by the college meeting that the College of Science will hold. And the areas within the College of Science are applied mathematics, information and computer sciences, and the natural sciences. Okay. And they are the proud occupants of the new Science Center, or some of them are. I guess, math is in a different area, and so is ICS. Okay, just the natural sciences people are in the building. You can still be a college in separate areas. All right, the next one is the School of Urban Education, Dean Renee Antrop Gonzalez, and looking at the urban education program and helping to meet the needs of urban schools for diverse teachers. Okay. All right, last area is the library by Dean and headed by Dean Chris Schaefer. Areas of references and instructional services, public services, technical services, archives, and special collection. And I like to refer to the library as the home of the friendly librarians and staff who help all of the academic units meet the needs of students and the faculty as well as the neighborhood, because we share that library with them. So, yeah, yay for the librarians, I heard that. Okay. All right. The other portion of the academic and student affairs is the student affairs area. So the first one in terms of looking at that is enrollment management, headed by Associate VP Amy Dunn. Areas of admissions and gateway student services, marketing and communications, our partnerships, and the registrar's office. All right. And the other part of that is student affairs and the student success area, led by Associate Provost Doug Knowlton and Dean of Students Herbert King, in terms of we're looking at providing an area for student success, and also we'll be grouping these areas together in terms of, and that is very new in terms of a reorganization and the relationships within that area yet to be determined and being discussed. But in that area, the Advising Center, Career Services, Center for Academic Excellence, the Counseling Center, Disability Services, Healthcare Navigator, International Student Office, Judicial Affairs, Multicultural Affairs, the Parent Center, Placement and Testing, Student Leadership, TRIO programs, and the Veteran Services. So both of the areas of student affairs, both the enrollment management and the student success, they are the academic unit's partners. Without the recruitment, admission, and retention of students, which the student affairs area provides, there really wouldn't be a need for academic programs. And likewise, without programs, there wouldn't be a lot of need to go recruit and admit and retain the students. So those two areas very much are a partnership, and it is my honor to sort of be the leader of those two units, and really it is our unit, one unit. So with that portion, I will stop and ask if there are any questions for me about the academic and student affairs unit. Hearing none, I get off easy. Oh.
Are you going to replace the interim deans this year? Is that part of your?
So the interim deans, to my understanding, they have differing years. So Judith for the CNHS is on a 1-year interim appointment, and Craig for the College of Liberal Arts is on it, and Volta, he helps, he really does. Volta they're on a 2-year appointment, and Frank Schweigert for CSPA is on a 3-year appointment. So yes, Sarah.
How many advisors are in the advising center? And can you just talk about the relationship between advisors and the advising center and then advisors supporting each individual college?
Not really. I'm not gonna. So, but I know who can. So I'm gonna come up, and that's why when he's the associate vice provost, he can answer that question.
There are 2 advisors now that will be assigned to the Advising Center, and this is the Advising Center for undeclared and undecided students that will be up and running October 1st. Kate Southwick will assume the leadership of that particular Advising Center. The relationships that they'll have they'll be liaison with different colleges and have some active involvement with those colleges, at the same time be located within that center. The center will have a sort of secondary sort of function, which is to do a lot of career coaching and work with the Career Center. In fact, we'll be sharing a position between the Career Center and the Advising Center to bring together some synergy between those activities. So.
Good. Go ahead.
Kelly Bundy's departure, can you speak a little bit about the plan for the Judicial Affairs Office?
Well, that plan is in an in-between stage. So with the combining of the areas of the Dean of Students areas and some of the areas that are under Doug, that's a discussion. So I don't have an answer for you now, but it's part of the discussion. Yeah.
We didn't hear too much about the graduate programs yet. Any news there?
Well, the graduate programs are all housed within the academic units. So from a perspective of looking at the graduate programs, there's a graduate council that meets that I will be part of. And I have to tell you that they haven't met yet since July 1. And so I'm at that point where I'm still in the learning curve on that. So do you have specific things that you would like to be addressed, or? Okay. By the way, if you haven't, I'm sure, 7 weeks, I just did make the comment that I've been here for 20 years. The learning curve in the first 7 weeks has been tremendous and enjoyable. So I'm learning lots, but I have much to learn. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention, when I was looking at all the titles
And that is a very nice area. Good day. Yes, yes. And I see Bruce taking notes, so that name change is noted and will be changed. Oops, go ahead.
I had heard that our tenancy of the MEC will end sometime next summer. Is there any plan to start that transition now?
That the MEC will end next summer. I've not been told to move my office over there, so I'm thinking that.
We signed a new lease with MCTC. Well, we negotiated it in January, and I think we probably got it signed a little earlier this summer. It's a 5-year lease, and with opportunities for renewal. We actually probably, when the HEAPR work goes on, there has to be major work on the MEC building once the legislature appropriates the money. And we've been in conversations with MCTC about maybe getting some different space, which we would continue to use after we move back to MEC. But we're firmly in partnership with MCTC, and we'll be there for the foreseeable future.
What she said. Anything else? Yeah, August.
Can you comment on funding that might be made available? You mentioned graduate programs. As you know, in the psychology department, our program has been paused. I'm wondering, have any decisions been made regarding how funding recruitment would be made towards grad programs in general?
I do not have the knowledge to answer that. So I'm going to look forward to GPC, where you're going to the graduate program council or committee. It's a council where I'll ask that question. Okay. All right. Yeah.
One more quick question about the status of things. What's the status of filling the position in GLBT student and women's student services?
On its way.
What does that mean?
Okay. That means that it's been approved, that we've interviewed people, and what else? It is in the process. It is not in hold. It's on a move forward basis.
Yeah, it's in process right now. We are looking at our second run or stage of interviews at this point.
Okay. Where's Steve? I got two more slides, or 2 or 3 more slides. Oh, I just paused for questions on that part. Okay. All right. The other area of my talk today is on the Strategic Planning Advisory Committee. This is a committee that is co-chaired with the IFO president, August Hoffman, and I thank him for being a wonderful co-chair. We've accomplished a lot in a short time, and much due to working together and having a great group to work with. So the Strategic Planning Advisory Committee advises the president and in the president's council on matters relating to the development and the implementation and the review of the university's strategic plan. And so, as such, the membership is varied. The membership is meant to be across the university, and as you can see by that list, membership from the various bargaining units, as well as deans and the student senate and ISIS and IT. So we're looking for a varied membership. And also in terms of talking with the president last week, Ginny commented that maybe we need to look at whether it should have so many of the executive people on it, and it should be more representative of have more members from across the university, and so we'll look at that. All right. So SPAC, as I'm going to call it, has been around for a while. Devinder brought this in when he was looking for some input onto direction of the university. And the very early work was, again, the appreciative inquiry where Ginny mentioned this morning, more than 350 people were participants in. And out of that came information that led to the university's 8 strategic priorities, as well as its strategic positioning statement. At the end of FY16, the unit had sort of completed that portion of the work, and we're looking to go forward. August and I, in the last couple of months, have met with this group and received feedback. And so the idea for FY17 is that the advisory work will involve reviewing alignment between the plans that are emerging in the units and the president's 3-year work plan. And all of those things are based on the strategic priorities that filtered through and up and from the university community, but also in alignment with the state system's strategic directions. So the overall aim for SPAC is alignment and integration. Those have been 2 words that have come up often in the discussions at SPAC. Horizontal between the units and vertical from up to down, frontline instruction and the service delivery to the work of the administration. And those integration efforts are 2-way communication. In no way, shape, or form is the strategic planning process top-down. As a matter of fact, I like to call it the zig and zag. So it'll go up and down, up and down, up and down, because that is the communication, that is the transparency, that is the alignment. And so one of the things that will happen this fall in the SPAC meetings is that we've set out a schedule and we are inviting various units to present their work on their strategic plans, all of which will, again, be in alignment with the president's work plan. So the president's work plan is a plan that is required by the system office. It's a 3-year work plan, but it's chunked into 1-year increments. As a work plan, it is, in a sense, our strategic plan. In this day and age, for as dynamic as the environment is, a 3-year plan really does border on a strategic plan. The days of 10-year plans seem to be 10-year visions, not necessarily 10-year strategic plans anymore, because they get shelved, they get changed, etc. So, now one of the things that the people who I have meetings with a lot have learned about me is I love to draw pictures. If I can't draw a picture, usually I don't understand it. So, here's the picture. So imagine that you have an hourglass and the strategic positioning statement that was worked on by SPAC and the 8 strategic priorities and the chancellor's directives all filter into the president's work plan. That work plan filters into the unit plans. These are the list of units that will do presentations to SPAC. So remember I said it's not just top down, so it's also bottom up. The unit plans inform the president's work plan, which the work plan is grounded in the strategic positioning statement and the 8 strategic priorities and the directives. So, you ready? Now I need to do this. This is what it looks like. Goes up, goes down, goes up. Where's the IT guy? How come this isn't on? You get the idea. It is going to zig and zag up and down. No way, shape, or form is it a top-down. It is continuous going between in terms. So that's the strategic area. or the strategic planning that we're looking at, many of the units we're conducting planning exercises in spring, and those planning exercises will flow right into what we're doing with respect to strategic planning. So that's just an overview of that. Okay. Questions on that, or I'm sure, 30 minutes, exactly. But if you have any quick questions, you're going to see more of this. You're going to hear more about the strategic planning, and that is a goal of the president as we move forward, that we'll continue that process. It'll be transparent, it'll be integrated, it'll be aligned. Okay.
Done? Good morning, or afternoon. Sorry, I'm still stuck in the morning. Must have been that great lunch. My name is Steve Reed, and I've been here twice as long as Carol has in her new role. So I don't know if that's a veteran status or not, but I am the VP for IT and CIO, and we're going to provide you an update on where we're at with our university's website. So kind of the team we've discussed the past, and we'll kind of go through that briefly, but kind of looking forward, I think, is our best approach. What is IT's role? I know there's been movement in the past, but looking at it from IT's perspective, we are responsible for facilitating and administrating the university's website on behalf of the university. So in order to do that, we have to work very closely with all of you. And we plan on doing that continuously, but more importantly, starting during this fall semester. A university's website is always in redesign. I think when I started here, and I remember in my interview process, there were some direct questions about the university's website. I didn't know the history at that time, but I soon realized after I started. This is, for where universities are today, a redesign is constant. And I think the most important part of looking at it is, what can we do together to build up the capacity for continuous improvement? Because that's where we're at today. There's frustration, rightfully so, and we need to regroup, build that capacity so we can move forward together, because this is going to be constant from a continuous improvement standpoint. This is a start at a university website strategy. To create, maintain, and advance the design, functionality, and usability of Metropolitan State University's website by actively collaborating with campus stakeholders to build a modern web presence that maximizes user experience and tells our university's story. I think, kind of following off President Arthur's presentation this morning, we have a unique story. And our website needs to be able to show that very well and quickly. Here's an example of what I've brought into the web team as we've had discussions. It's a pretty simple drawing. I did this particularly for Carol. The top is a bridge, and that bridge is what we all walk across every day. What we don't understand are the pillars that are holding up that bridge. Not that we all need to understand that, but it's important to provide a perspective that just to cross the bridge, you might, if the bridge didn't have certain pillars, you're going to run into some problems. And I think part of Metro State's history in the website were missing pillars or broken pillars. So obviously what's very important is the availability, usability, campus awareness, and involvement. There might have been some areas that we have some opportunity. But looking at the pillars, the architecture, this is a very complex enterprise system. The web design, the web technologies, all the technologies that are integrated and heavily relied on for us to function and for our students to get the resources they need. And then the content. We all know content is very important, but sometimes we lose focus that you need all four of them to make that bridge work. So I thought that I would share, Jenny mentioned kind of just starting with assessments and being very honest and forward. Some of these might change as I spend more than 3.5 months here, right? But just initially looking at this and working with the team, there was great work that's been done over the last 2 years, and we don't want to lose that. We don't want, I've spoken with some of you, and you've mentioned that to me. We don't want to rework anything. I need to gather and organize previous work. There was a lot of work, but it wasn't always organized. And to be honest, I've heard a lot of that work, but I haven't been able to wrap my hands around it yet. Alignment with university strategic priorities and marketing plan. Consistent look and experience. Clearly establish and effectively communicate the purpose of our university's website. I asked that question a few times after I started here, and you'd be amazed of how many different answers that I received. Create a single point of contact for all web services and administration. Create a structure for university web governance. Create a comprehensive content author training program. And create and communicate website design guidelines. This is a lot longer list than what I have here, but there's been work done in a lot of these areas already. So these points here I've heard several times, so I thought that it would be worth discussing, or you can ask questions later. To no existing project charter or comprehensive project plan. This is a massive project, absolutely massive. I've fortunately been able to go through these several times in my previous jobs. To think that we've gotten as far as we have without a comprehensive project plan and charter is pretty amazing. It really is. Now I've heard, well, we've had plans, we've seen plans, but it wasn't a comprehensive project plan regarding the whole university's website. To be honest, they don't even call those plans with projects this size, they call them portfolios because they have several project plans within them. So we're circling back and we're going to go through that process again. We'll start it this fall semester. Leadership and project management inconsistencies. Significant disconnect between the university, consultants, and vendor. Vendor is the company that creates the software that our website runs on. Expectations have been mismanaged, and this isn't a negative comment. It's that expectations were being managed, but because they weren't coming together and follow-up wasn't consistently occurring, that's what I am referring to as far as being mismanaged. University website data breach. That was a very significant event that occurred to Metro State. And it had a significant impact on the progress of the previous website project. And I think that is one that hopefully we will discuss more just on its own, because from an information security standpoint, it's very important. And it did have a critical impact on the website. The breach occurred through the website. I'm sure most of you know that, for ones that don't know that. Inconsistent communication and campus involvement. A lot of campus involvement in pockets, but the involvement wasn't all brought together in a comprehensive way where feedback was distributed and opportunity for further discussion. So where are we today? The university's website content has been migrated. Typically, this migration occurs before a website goes live. So, given the history that I just went through, is one of the reasons that, or several of the reasons that we are where we are today. We weren't able to go through a project in a sequential order that usually leads to success. We migrated content, and that's what we did. Now, that doesn't mean that some areas aren't happy with where they're at, but some areas they're lacking what their expectations were, and that goes back to the expectation management. Program catalog pages redeployed, stabilizing architecture, design, and technologies. Right now, those are three of those critical pillars. We needed to go back and reassess that. It wasn't quite where it needs to be, and we've made very significant progress in that. Prioritizing information security while balancing current demand. One thing that I've noticed just in general, fortunately, I haven't experienced a major data breach, but it has a huge impact. And so when that happens, it's natural to allow information security to somewhat restrain you from exploring different avenues. So from an IT perspective, especially in higher education, it's a balance. Right? We need to be secure, but we also need to enable change. And just by nature, they don't work well together. Right? So we're working through that. Because some of the restrictions that have occurred over the last, since the data breach a year and a half ago, some of those limitations have been because of security concerns. Right? And so part of the staff development item down there is we're going to continue to grow in that, because not only did it have a significant impact on the university, it had a very significant impact on staff within IT and in other areas. That they absolutely do not want to go through that again. Optimizing searches, form migrations. We've done some extensive work with areas around campus. Future. We're going to try to back up as much as we can and start forward. We're not going to back up to the very beginning of a normal project plan, because we've already done a significant amount of that work. So we're going to go back and try to pick up the areas that weren't addressed initially. So we are going to go back, get the data, get the work that's been done, but we're going to create a project charter and a comprehensive project plan. We're going to align with the university's strategic priorities and marketing plan. Establish and effectively communicate the purpose of our university's website. Schedule campus stakeholder meetings. I plan on scheduling several meetings over the next few months. and be able to get some history, but more importantly, focusing on moving forward. Where are we at today? Where do we need to be? And work on a plan to get there. Create a single point of contact for all web services and administration. Create a structure for university web governance. Create a comprehensive content author training program. We've already made significant steps in that area. Create and communicate website design guidelines, and focus on continuous improvement. Like I said, these conversations just need to constantly occur. Current timeline. Looking at June, the website management transitioned to IT. Evaluation of current state of the university's website happened in June. Relocated the web team and integrated within IT in July, and we started working more with the vendor of our CMS. Most of you know it's Ingenix, you know it by name, but I don't like to refer to technologies by the vendor's name because we change. And Ingenix is the name, and we've reached out to them and we've started working more closely with them. This month, we're updating the CMS to a current release. That goes back to that architecture side. Creation of workflow for content authors. So this will allow us to distribute the access permissions to content authors to be able to start managing the content in their areas. Just through December, through the fall semester, September, start removing consultant-created complex code. That was part of the history of the vendor and consultant and university disconnect. The environment we have now is far more complex, and it doesn't really allow us to do what we need to do. So we're going to back that off. Creation of project charter and project plan, start campus stakeholder meetings, start piloting content authoring with campus stakeholders. October, November, start reviewing legacy applications. We have several applications that are integrated into our website that we need to look at. And we need to take the time and prioritize that. Again, a lot of these steps should have been done over 2 years ago in a normal project plan, right? You evaluate all existing before you start thinking about how you're going to move forward. Continue campus stakeholder meetings, content authoring deployment, continue the complex code removal. December, hoping to do the first run of compiling the campus stakeholder feedback and communicate that back out to campus so everybody knows where we're going. Revisit and update university website strategy. As I mentioned at the beginning, the strategy is what's kind of guiding us now, but we need to adapt and change as we get the feedback from the university, from all of you. And continue working on legacy applications. That's going to take us a while. So in conclusion, for those that were here this morning, I thought it would be helpful just to really see what an enterprise system is, because this is a new experience for our university. To really understand the size and scope of our university's website. It's a very complex architecture, and the reason why is because it needs to perform, it needs to be secure, it needs to be able to adapt to the changes that is demanded of it. But looking at the size of our website, which this is very typical of a university our size, but it kind of puts things into perspective a little bit. You know, the over 150 service requests per month, that's stakeholders contacting us for questions or support. So, thank you. I want to be able to answer questions if you have any, but most importantly, we do appreciate greatly your support, participation, and understanding as we look forward to the future of our university's website. So, yes?
Does this include both the external, visible to everybody website and our internal portal SharePoint world?
I was wondering if SharePoint was going to get brought up. This conversation specifically is around the external website. The portal, SharePoint, that still is another undertaking that we need to get going on. Yes.
First of all, there's that better? Okay. First of all, thank you for a candid assessment. I think that's an important first step for us in where we are in the web project. You can't get anywhere unless we're talking straight with each other, which really helps a great deal. We could probably do an hour on every one of the points in your assessment there, but let me just focus on one that has some interesting effects. In a situation where we're focusing on a kind of a difficult budget situation, one of the ways out of it, of course, is marketing. And you correctly made the point in your third point in your assessment that aligning the marketing approach with the web approach is very important. Having the marketing look like the web is a very good first step, consistent look and feel and that sort of thing. But I'm wondering how far along we're going to go with that and how quickly. I guess, as you know, there's many levels at which we can do that. We could do it simply at the look and feel level. We could do it at the meta tag and structural levels, SEO levels, analytics levels, all kinds of things. And if you could just say a word or two about where you are with the marketing integration, I think that'd be very helpful.
Sure. I met with Amy shortly afterwards, and we had this conversation after the transition. Pauline and marketing communications, we've had several meetings in the last couple of months. Part of it is just organizationally aligning and getting to work together. I think that's some of a new experience in some areas, but we're very dedicated to doing that. So part of it is, I'd say the start of it, of where we're at right now, is getting a better understanding of how the two areas will work together. And I'm very confident, and I don't want to speak for Amy, I think she is too, and Pauline. We have some challenges, we have some hurdles to get over. But I think we'll do it, and we'll do it well. So part of it is just being engaged, being involved in the conversations and understanding the marketing side, and the marketing understanding the technical side, because there's limitations in both areas. And being able to align the two and make sure as we make investments moving forward that we're going to get the results that we intend to. And that part of it is being involved in the marketing campaign and understanding where the website is of value in conjunction with that. Where are we today as far as making that happen? We have some opportunities still ahead of us. We need to get over some of the larger hurdles first, so we can then have the university's website adapt to the change in marketing. Right now we're not there, but we're going to be able to start looking at compromises to where we can say, okay, well, that we know this is ideal, but for now, let's do this because we can. But keeping that long-range goal always in front of us as we make incremental steps to get there, because it's not anything that we can do overnight. Does that help?
That's a good start.
Yeah.
How far are analytics going to be shared?
How far?
How many people are going to be actually able to see how we're doing from an analytics standpoint? We can talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk offline, and I'll get a better perspective of where you're coming from on that.
Steve, can you explain what the timeline might be for development of new web pages for the new colleges?
Sure.
Because, for example, like the College of Arts and Sciences on July 1st was no longer, and now we're the College of Sciences and the College of Liberal Arts. but our students can't find our web pages.
Yes. That's very unfortunate, and I definitely understand the concern. The timing is not ideal on making major changes when the university's website is kind of in a state that isn't highly adaptable. But understanding to that is a high priority. And I think what's important for us is that we can work together as we establish these high priorities, because by no means is the web team going to stop working on priorities, but we need to find where that balance is as we progress to make the changes we need to get to, as far as providing those pillar structures to where we can be highly adaptable, but yet also maintaining priorities. And I know the college website pages, section pages are very important to get done, but I don't know, I'm not going to. We have a wonderful web team that works here, and I could call them to see if they have any. I see some of them sitting in the audience, but I'd have to follow up with you afterwards. I'll get that answer and communicate that out as far as the exact point of where we're at.
I imagine all of the colleges are feeling the same thing.
Yep.
So I don't understand what could be a higher priority. I mean, if our students can't find what they're looking for on our website, why wouldn't they go somewhere else?
Right. I can see why it's a very high priority, and I understand it. And unfortunately, there are several very high priorities, but I would agree that that's something that I know is a high priority. To be honest, I apologize. I don't know exactly where we're at with that. I know that requests that are coming in are getting worked on. I don't know if anybody here. Oh, Rich, do you know where that's at?
It's on the radar.
Yeah. So I was trying to give. I'll follow up with you afterwards, and then make sure that I get you an update tomorrow on where we're at, or even.
How about updating everybody? Because Janice is just speaking for everyone.
Sure. Again, this is part of the difficulty, is that there are a lot of updates to give to everybody, and the priorities or urgencies are pretty extensive, and trying to manage the priorities when we don't have what I had went through before. We don't have metrics, we don't have what we need to manage priorities. But yet, I think for all of us, ones that have been in higher education for a long time, can kind of see where those priorities are, but they're still extensive. So the best thing that I can do as far as being able to provide you an accurate answer, because they're going to be all different areas. If I send some mass communication out, I know for a fact it's not going to be accurate for everybody, because we're just in all different stages, unfortunately.
So to follow up on that just briefly, Janice is asking when the college pages will be updated, and I think everyone in the colleges is interested in an answer to that question.
And then the follow-up that would come to that is what levels of updating needs to happen, because if there's critical updates that need to happen, we will prioritize those and make sure to get those done. Depending on what college we're working with and what area, there could be several updates that need to get done, and some could be minor. And that's part of our balancing that we're working on. So again, the best approach to that is I can follow up with you afterwards, and or we can submit a web request to document that. But it will take us working with you individually or with a group of individuals to make sure that we can prioritize the work that needs to get done. Yeah, August.
That was my related question. So for smaller corrections, updates, revisions related to the website, is there a particular person we should contact or fill out a web form that you mentioned earlier?
Right now, the best way is to complete the web request form. That allows us to track it and to make sure that it's not just one person working on it. Part of the advantage of forming a team is that multiple people can work on multiple things and create efficiency, and that's what we're building right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Yes.
We were told after the data breach that we would be hearing some updates in terms of what the FBI found and some other sources of information. Haven't really heard a great deal formally. Could you give us a little update on what we've learned since the data breach?
You know, I think if you don't mind, I can defer that question. We can talk about it, but I do plan on working with the university community and circling back on that. That was a question that I had myself. I've discussed it with President Arthur. I'm going to be able to work with the campus community and provide that update in the fall semester for sure. Yep. Yes.
Hey, Steve.
Yes. Oh, hi, Shauna.
So I guess, is there something that we can do to prioritize from the college standpoint? So I know, like, for example, in Seesaw, I am working with our project manager on all of our marketing and communications to, help people to understand that we have this new college formulated and, all of the departments within and the activities that we have to be able to promote our programs and grow our partnerships. Is there something that we can be doing to get on the radar or ensure we're on the radar? I mean, I seem to recall early on when you started that you said you were going to come around to each college to visit with the deans. And so I guess I'm curious, is that still on your radar? Is that something that you would prefer that we reached out to you to do? Because I agree with what I think it was Sue down there was saying and Janice. It does become a little bit difficult for us to be able to market our new colleges if our students can't find us. And obviously, there's a lot of cascading that happens from that. Letterhead, business cards, and things like that. And I think there's a lot of holding pattern, at least in the conversation we've had in our college. So I guess just wondering if you have any insight or recommendations for how you would like us in our colleges or various colleges to work with your area to make sure that the things that need to rise up in priority do so.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think you made a lot of great comments. For us, from an efficiency standpoint, within your colleges, centralizing a point of contact is very helpful. One thing that I have noticed is that we do rework. So we'll get requests that come in from someone from a department or a college, and then next week there's another one that we're changing it differently than what it was. So I think in response to what would be helpful, at least in the time being in the situation we're in, is if you're able to work together to help starting to prioritize that internally. I definitely am planning on meeting with all of the deans in the next few weeks, if calendars allow, and talk about more than just the website, but the website will be a topic. I would like to talk more about teaching and learning and the more enjoyable things, but yet I know this is a high priority. So from an urgency standpoint, if there are unique things that are very critical that need to get done, again, trying to organize those and centralize those would be very helpful from a college perspective. And then we would be able to work in the meantime prior to me meeting with the deans to get those more higher prioritized critical items addressed. All right, thank you.
So my first can you hear me? Yes? So one of the slides that got lost as I was sitting there playing through my slides in my head is the Institute for Community Engagement, which is also part of ASA, or the Academic and Student Affairs. And so to Greg Mellis, who leads ISIS, my apologies, I have no idea what happened to that slide, but I was sitting there thinking, where was it? I think it's an IT problem. I don't know. Oh. So for that, I apologize, but I wanted to.
Yep. Thank you for holding on to your fruits and vegetables through the presentations that preceded it, and I now look forward to seeing them as they're coming our way. Everybody told me my briefing was going to be probably the most controversial, and now I'm thinking that's not the case. So thank you again. Mine will be more of an eye test, though, than the previous slides, although I only have one. So I think I've talked with the audience here, various members of it, over the last couple months. Right now, we are 2 months into fiscal year 17. I would say we're struggling to load the budget, but the shortage of funding and the complexities of not really understanding what was in our budget targets and what was outside of it before has complicated this effort greatly. I think you all know from fiscal year 16, we took a 2.1% across the board cut, found out that we could not survive in academic and student affairs, added money back into academic and student affairs. We had reorganizations both within the colleges and outside. It has been a lot of moving parts. We're getting very close to loading it right now. But I did want to give you an overall picture. And unfortunately on the 16 side, we're still finalizing the books right now. On fiscal year 16, we're very close. We're in period 13 for those of you who are in with accounting nomenclature. But we're very close. These figures for 16 are very close to where we're going to end up. In 17, those are the best estimates that we've had right now. Those will get a lot more solid when we get into day 10, right after the drop date. For fiscal year 16, you can see the line that has the budgeted operating surplus or deficit. We ended up, and that's not correct. That should be somehow, okay. I would confess, this spreadsheet was originally about 3 times as long as this, and I corrected it, I thought, and broke some of the links. We did actually have a operating surplus for fiscal year 16 of about $500,000 in the operating side. However, we had significant debt service, and so the fund balance impact that you can see there in the yellow line, we are going to have to tap into our fund balance for our operating deficit of about $1.5 million. And then also we talked briefly about the fact that we had some construction accounts that were completely off the books, off the general fund books. That amount was about $2.6 million. So in fiscal year 16, we will have about a $4.2 million deficit. That'll be the 3rd year in a row we've tapped our fund balance. We'll end up the end of the fiscal year with somewhere close to about $10 million in the bank, which is still a fairly healthy fund balance, but significantly below the 24 million that we had several years ago. The good news is we have some really, truly special buildings to show for that investment. We have a lot of dirt out somewhere that needed a lot of remediation, but we are good to go with the neighborhood now, and we have significant capacity in our parking ramp. We have a wonderful new student center and a beautiful science and education center. So the construction issues should be behind us. We do have some challenges in 17, and I briefly alluded to the fact that, again, we have a slight budget deficit, and that is correct. We have a slight budget deficit going into 17 on the operating side because with the newer programs that we're trying to offer and some of the tuition, the revenue projections that we have a little bit of a budget deficit going there, and then when we add in the debt service, of which about 2/3 of it was covered through an appropriation, we're sailing into fiscal year 17 with about $830,000 heading at our fund balance right now. And of course, we have promised the systems office that we were going to make an investment of $750,000 into our fund balance. So right now, we're leaning forward about $1.5 million. Now, we can make that up with salary savings. We have actually generated more than that amount in years past. It is not undoable, but we do have to be very deliberate about what we're signing up to do. We have to look at every position that's coming open and see if that's what we need to be doing. We need to look at position descriptions and positions of people that are currently on board, seeing if that's the highest priority activities that we're doing. And that'll get us through fiscal year 17. I'm very confident that we can do that. But it is going to be a large part of looking at what we're trying to do. I think we passed out a handout, or are going to pass out a handout, a rather large handout about the fiscal year 18 budget process, which you have seen before, which really shows the fact that rather than doing the fiscal year 17 budgeting process from February till now, we are actually going to start the fiscal year 18 budget process next month. We'll get the fiscal year 17 budget process in and start looking really at what are we trying to accomplish, how do we do that, and what are the various resource investments that we need for each one of these methodologies to make this happen. And so it's a much more deliberate look. The timing will give us a lot more of time to review what we're doing, to adjust, if you will, and it'll also help us, our fiscal year 17 exploration of how we're going to get through 17 will also help us in 18. But I guess make no doubt, or have no doubts, fiscal year 17 is going to be a very challenging year for the university. And I think I've been very consistent on that message from the get-go. I'm not a tremendous person to, I don't mind doing forensic accounting, but I think we have explored a lot of the forensic aspects of how we got here, the hiring over the last 5 years, some of the construction cost overruns. Dan Hambrecht's not here, so I can use that word. Construction cost overruns. And I think what we really need to focus on going forward is being very deliberate about what we're trying to do and how we want to accomplish that. And that's all the slides that I have, and I'm happy to entertain questions.
I have two questions. First, when you talk about salary savings, and I know that there's some open positions and things, but I know there's a lot of staff that are concerned when you say salary savings and position description analysis, that means layoffs. So that is a question probably not just for you, but for everyone in leadership. And my second question for financial management, a lot of our processes where we interact with financial management are paper-based and challenging and difficult, and I think there's a lot better ways we can do those. I was on continuous improvement last year, and it would be really nice if something could be online. We have disparate campuses. Getting a paper form filled out by 6 people is challenging. And if we can make the people in financial management's life easier too by having things streamlined, is there any future plans for doing some of that?
Let me talk to both issues. Nobody has talked layoffs to me, and I office 10, 20 feet from Jenny, so I haven't heard that word come out of her mouth. Salary savings are when we have a position come open, there is a natural lapse rate, if you will, between the time we would fill it, and then there is a conscious decision whether we're going to fill that position or not, and those would be the salary savings that I'm talking about. There is no layoff, retrenchment, whatever word you want to come up with. I have not heard that within my earshot. I know of no plan to do that. So right now, the salary savings are any positions that we have that become vacant. It's a very opportunistic look to see if we can take advantage of that or not. And we have to look at every position as it comes up because we have to generate a significant amount of money. On the electronic side, we are one of the 5 pilot institutions within MnSCU. The e-procurement initiative should be up and running here by, I think we go into the test model by the end of this month, and that will provide complete electronic procurement from cradle to grave. It'll be a login. You'll have a catalog that you can order things through. You can track your own status through your login user ID. You'll be able to see the effect of your procurement transaction. And that transaction, our touch of it is purely electronic, and it'll all go through workflow, the approval process. So we won't be hustling paper around anymore. It should be a tremendous benefit. And believe me, we feel your pain, and we feel our pain, and it has not been pleasant this year. I can tell you, Angie and Oksana have done incredible work. We have also had some people helping out. It is a convoluted process. Unfortunately, in public sector, there's a lot of oversight of procurement actions. I think if truth be told, the auditors would want to have a small force here to monitor every transaction we have. That's a little impractical. And so we are using our normal procurement process. We have worked diligently over the last year to adapt that to the electronic procurement initiative. And I think you're going to see a big quantum improvement, certainly in the self-service submission part of it, the availability of catalogs to track your own frequently ordered supplies and equipment, and the fact that you can track the status of it and where it's at the whole time. And there'll be approval authorities and their alternates designated in there, so that it should go through a lot faster. That's our hope. Yes, sir.
Lots of things to ask about, of course, but let's focus on one that has been a pretty substantial one, obviously. Watching the fund balance and the reserves go from 24 million down to about 10 million and so on has correlated pretty closely with the parking ramp project. We're seeing that there isn't really a number on the sheet per se for the parking ramp. Are we breaking even? Are we making money? Is it going to generate more cost for us? Okay. Where are we on that?
The parking ramp is a revenue fund activity. That is, it is not in the general fund. So it sits in its own revenue fund. The parking ramp cost us about $17 million to build. It was bond funded, so there is a separate bond payment to pay back the bond holders for that parking ramp construction. The bond payment is about $1.6 million a year. The operating expenses for maintenance and security and that kind of stuff is just shy of $500,000 a year. So all in, our parking ramp costs us about $2 million a year for parking, I should say. Because the parking revenue fund is not only our ramp, it's the space we lease at MCTC, at LecJec, at Normandale. It's just that the ramp is the most visible part of the parking fund. We have done a pro forma on the parking ramp based on the subscription rates. It is a break-even initiative right now. The parking ramp itself has never been over 70% full. So we had to comply with the City of St. Paul's planning guidelines based on adding this facility over here and our student center. And that's what drove the size of our parking ramp. So right now, we have plenty of capacity to add students, so I would urge you to go out and find some more students and have them park in our parking ramp. The way the parking ramp generates revenue is our students pay a per credit hour charge of $12 per credit hour to repay the debt service and the operating budget. The students pay for about 90% of that revenue. Then we have a staff component of that, between 8 and 9%, and the staff rate is just over the student rate for a full-time student. And then, of course, we have events and stuff where they pay for parking, and that's usually about 1%. But the parking ramp had no impact on our fund balance whatsoever. The construction around Mariah Avenue and the Science and Education Center that were incidental to the parking ramp did absorb some of the costs out of the reserve. Yes, ma'am.
I can get this on. On a somewhat related note, I notice on the tuition line for 2017 that there is the assumption of increase on tuition revenue. Would you please expound a little bit on the assumptions behind that. Thank you.
Okay. We have, you probably all are aware, we have a tuition freeze for fiscal year 17. However, we did project a 1% enrollment increase for fiscal year 17. We're tracking it. Amy Dunn's crowd is tracking that very closely right now. We were up over 2%, but there's a significant amount of student debt in that 2% projection that we have to work out over the next 10 days, 12 days to see where we finally end up. But we do think we'll be up in student enrollment and credit enrollment for fiscal year 17, so that's being reflected on that tuition estimate. Obviously, after we, it's somewhat of a moving target. Obviously, we get a much better picture about where we end up in fall after the 10th day drop date, and then, of course, we have an estimate for spring. So those numbers, I would caution you, those numbers will change as we move through the year and we show you, updates and stuff. They'll move a little bit, 1 or 2%, but the tuition, we do expect some increased enrollments, and so the tuition line will be up a little bit, slightly. And of course, the tuition now, as opposed to 10 years ago, represents about 2/3 of our revenue as a university. 10 years ago, it was about 1/3 of our revenue. But the state appropriations have declined in the meantime. Obviously, they let us raise tuition rates somewhat to accommodate that. There is a tuition buyback in the state appropriation, but it probably doesn't give us all the money back that we would have lost had we been able to raise tuition as much as we wanted. So, it's a delicate balancing act at the legislature to figure out how much tuition they would let us raise versus how much of a state appropriation they're willing to allot to MnSCU. And then, of course, we're involved in an elaborate allocation framework that President Arthur and several of our administrators and faculty have participated on. And it's about a 13 variable framework, and there's a lot of political maneuvering every time they meet. And Ginny has described it in detail, and it sounds pretty painful, much more so than this. So I'm going to trust that we're there. I think I would tell you, within that framework, there's a couple items there. I think you might intuitively know every university has some different circumstances, so the framework benefits some people more than others. For us, the facility framework doesn't benefit us because we have very few owned spaces and we lease space. And we don't get credit in the facility line for lease space. So if you're a Bemidji and you have a lot of buildings that are, more buildings that are owned versus leased, you get more facility money. If you're Metro State and you have very few owned buildings but much more leased buildings, you don't get as much. So those are the things we've been working on over the years to try and tailor that framework to fit our model and help us. But of course, we have several competing interests there, and sometimes their voice actually gets heard too. So, next question. Too bad Steve's not here to see this. See, this is how you have a great briefing. Oh, there you are. Okay. Well, I'm always available to answer anything. We are working in financial management to improve the monthly financial reporting that the colleges are going to discover, and we will plan to have quarterly budget reviews for fiscal year 17 that will be available to all. If you have any suggestions on a format that is more helpful to you and everything, we'd love to hear it. But we do plan to be completely transparent, and we ask your assistance because this is going to be a very challenging year, and hopefully we'll all work together to explore a lot of opportunities. Thank you very much.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming this afternoon. I think this is the start of our being more open and transparent with the university community, making sure that you know what we know and that you have the opportunity to share your ideas with us, because we really do need all of us to work together on these things. If there are any questions that you think you want to ask me before you leave, here's your chance. So. Anybody have a question for me? Yeah, Sarah.
Can you talk a little bit just with the previous statement about what the salary savings means to you, as the fall is usually the season for recruiting new faculty?
Sure. Yes, and you know, Bruce is accurate. We are not trying, first of all, I want to dispel that sense that we are not in a point of having to look at layoffs or retrenchment or anything else. That we do need to be cautious regarding our funds. So, you know, we are carefully scrutinizing, as we said, any new, you know, any vacancies that come available. When it comes to, you know, funding for next year, if we're particularly talking about faculty, because we have to do our recruiting for faculty fall of now, 16, for if we hope to have faculty in place next fall. That's really going to depend on how things shake out as we look at the FY18 budget. So we are, as I mentioned this morning, and as I think Bruce shares on his timeline that he's passed around, we will shortly begin that process. We're beginning the process by having our Strategic Enrollment Management Council, which was formed last spring, share their projection of where our enrollment will go. And they've been working with one of our faculty members, Alan Bellis, to develop a econometric model to help us make those predictions. You know, we are, so a lot depends on that. You know, a lot depends on the work that we do this fall in order to be able to, you know, figure out where we might get more savings efficiencies. And we have to walk that delicate balance. I said this morning, we want to maintain academic quality. That's critical. But we, you know, we have to live within the resources we have, or we have to have a really good plan for getting more. In some ways, I suppose you could say our fund balance has been our credit card. That credit card limit is cut off. We didn't go over several years. I heard Bruce say that came down over several years. It came down over 3. And we can't. That's just not sustainable. We have to give $750,000 a year to replenish our required reserves because we're on a financial recovery plan. And that wasn't, again, Bruce mentioned system office, that was the Board of Trustees that said, we have to do this. So those are our constraints. We want to, you know, last year when I was provost, I had some money in a strategic fund. The president had some money in a strategic fund. Neither of us have it this year. We gave all of the money, we allocated it to make sure that we could maintain as many class sections as we can, because students are our lifeblood. So I can't give you an answer now whether we'll be able to hire new faculty next year or not. A lot really depends on the planning that we do over the next few months. But again, what I can promise you is we will be as transparent as possible with you. We will seek your input into good ideas. I'm going to be doing all that I can as the president to go out and begin to meet donors and tell the Metropolitan state story, because it's a compelling one, and I think we can attract funding to do more things for our students. But it's like threading the needle in the next year. But if we can get through and get beyond this, and thank goodness we did find out before it was too late that something needed to be addressed, we can do it by being careful and cautious and thinking hard and being strategic. And then we'll get to the other side, and then I believe we'll open up into a period of good growth. Sue?
So this is showing a $1.5 million deficit work, salary savings, and that seems like a lot of money.
Well, it's not insubstantial. I can't close the gap for us. Just say not taking a salary or something. Believe me. But a lot of it will probably come as we're looking at. We do have, I think Bruce mentioned this, a sort of natural attrition rate. Someone leaves and sometimes we get a couple weeks notice and we can't replace that person. That takes a couple of months, and so we have salary savings there, and that has been some part of that. It's generally actually been more than $1.5 million. Now, it is possible that Bruce and I can take a walk down 7th Street and talk to the Vice Chancellor for Finance about we really can't afford that $750 this year. But when I go there, I have to be able to show that we've done everything we can to make sure we've been efficient and closed the gap, because maintaining the required reserves is, absolutely necessary and paramount. So, that is also a potential strategy. But we're still looking. We'll know once 10th day comes how things are settling out, and we'll begin planning right away for spring.
I guess I would just add, this is not solely a cost-cutting exercise. We also want to look at our revenue generation side, and that's where, within the academic world, it's all about the scheduling. It's about sections. It's about full sections. It's about getting professors in there to generate revenue. And that's why I've been working with Carol and Jenny. We have to have probably more full sections than we've had in the past, because we need the revenue. So I'll focus on the cost-cutting side. You guys will help us on the revenue side.
Pat?
I saw a higher learning commission site visit preparations on the agenda. Would you like to mention anything about that?
Sure, I can mention something about that. Our preparation is well underway. We have a steering committee, and Pat's not a ringer, but she is a very important part of that committee. We are, we have Joyce Paxton. She is our AQUIP HLC liaison and coordinator. We have several things that we have to do in advance of that visit, including sending an update report. We sent in our systems portfolio last June 1st, and we got our feedback in the fall. We've been looking at that. We have to give them an update. What have we been working on before they get here? We have things, now there's what's called a federal compliance audit. That's largely financial aid, but there are some other aspects of that. And again, Joyce is doing a good job of getting everyone prepared to be ready to respond with those materials. We think they go in late December. And our team will be here at the end of February, so there's several things we have to work on. For example, and I see there are several faculty in the room here, we have to make sure that we have available syllabi for reviewers to look at, because they will use those to determine whether or not we are granting the appropriate level of credit hours to students. We need to begin to put together a database on our faculty qualifications. If you read the newspapers over the past few months, you may have known that this has been an issue which in Minnesota has raised a lot of question. I was at the Higher Learning Commission annual meeting in April, and they said how much they don't like Minnesota because our legislature called them from the Higher Learning Commission to come and explain the faculty qualifications. But faculty qualifications, we may have heard about them a lot in terms of concurrent enrollment and for the two-year institutions, but it is an issue for universities as well, because we have to be able to demonstrate that the person teaching any particular course has a concentration in that area. So, Jeannie Grant, I saw her earlier, I don't know if she's here now, but let's take history. If you're going to teach world history, you better have taken your terminal degree in world history, not American history. So it's not just saying you have a PhD or you have another kind of terminal degree in the field. It really is looking at the qualifications, what you studied within your degree, where you did your dissertation work, and applying that to the courses you teach. So there's going to be a lot of activity going on, and we're going to ask for your cooperation around that. What else should I have said, Pat? Okay, good. All right. And we won't be on vacation, Carol, me, or anyone else. Yeah, Joyce?
And the feedback from HLC are on the website. So if you just plug in Systems Portfolio, you'll see the page.
You're sure about that?
I am.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Yeah, Angie?
My question is on the technology piece.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm not sure if I got all of the question there, Angie, but what my personal and professional wish is that we have an outstanding website that people can easily navigate, and you can see the great work that we do at our university and the wonderful preparation we give to students. Now, I think you said something about grants.
For example, there are other four-year schools who have their websites too, and it's not compared to ours. I know because they have different sets of activities within their portfolios. But who we are right now, for example, the technology piece picture that I saw with it laying very flat, and then those four pieces of the technology triangles reminds me of Stonehenge, and I think we either look like a peak or a trough to show true strengths, especially for the architecture piece, and down here the other piece of the technology piece with the other two priorities of the movie to show true strength. So rather than us just holding on to those internal, what is your wish for us to show that on an external site, as with some of the other four-year institutions and some of the two-year institutions?
So, Steve, what's my wish? Because don't we discuss this every week? What's my wish? This is a test.
I'm also was trying to follow your question in relation to the ability to show our university's interest with the specific area of grants, as far as within programs or as far as our university. I would see that as that's part of the prioritization that we go through to put that as a value and demonstrate that effectively. That's our end goal. And going through the prioritization process and aligning that, we'll accomplish it.
I would like to also turn to as funding support, because it gets us to the reality that there are good assets out there in the universe. We are truly honest.
Yep. We are. We are past the 4 o'clock mark, so if anyone, don't hesitate to leave if you want to, in conclusion now. But still, I will definitely stay around for a few minutes if anyone has another question. Carolyn?
Yes, this is sort of my obligatory question, but there were some meetings this summer where we talked about the online strategic plan and implementations, and Bruce managed to leave just before I got to ask him things. Oh, no, he's back. Okay. I'm wondering, in terms of revenue generation, what you're thinking about our future with smart quality development of online courses. That's all.
I can... Okay. One of the difficult things that we have to deal with is that there probably were revenue streams that should have been placed in separate pots and used for the related purposes. And that didn't happen. And, before Bruce was here, before I was here, and all we can do moving forward is do our best to try to work towards that goal. It's not just in the area of the online premium. So right now, we've got one big pot of money. We're constrained in what we can look at. We got to balance the budget. We do want to generate some money for strategic investment. That's very important. And that's where we'll work towards. I do think that the online strategic plan was presented to the Strategic Planning Council, am I right, Carol? And that they have some questions and that they'll be coming back. So we also need the plan to be vetted through that mechanism. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.